Right, well, with Victorian lockdown, we've had to go to face mask. So I don't know whether I should start the show with face mask on or not. So let's do it. Oh, I don't think anyone will be able to hear me with a face mask on. What do you reckon? Let's cover the nose. See what happens. Yeah, nah, can't do the show with the mask on, so I've got to take it off. Oh, we're bloody mask. Well, there you go. We've got a bit of a baby face happening. Those masks, they take your whiskers off real quick. Anyway, listen up, guys. Look, you know I'm all coming to you live here from Victoria, and I have to give the big shout-out, thoughts and prayers to everybody in Melbourne metro area. Listen, we're all with you. Australia is one country. Regional Victoria is part of Victoria. We're really thinking of you in that stage 4 lockdown. If anyone needs anything, please get on to my Facebook page, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Message me. If you just want to have a chat, get on. I'm here and things are open, guys. We're not so bad. We're locked down, still in stage 3. We're going to wear a mask when we go outside. Doesn't matter. I don't care. We're just thinking about all of you guys in the Melbourne metro area. So chins up. It won't take long and we'll get it back to normal. I would have been packing my bags today and going to Queensland to fish the Somerset round. But, with all that's going on, that's the only problem in my life. I'm doing it pretty well. We've had to change the schedule tonight. The Skeezy boys have had some family or death in the family, so we couldn't get them on tonight. They're too busy doing other stuff. So I called in a previous guest from episode number 2, Mr. Booth, which is one of my most watched episodes. So we're going to talk about who inspired you or who has inspired you in fishing. So they'll be the questions that we'll be looking at tonight. Listen, we've got heaps of people on already. Howard, Jeremy, Shane, David, Mark, Scott, David, Jeff. Oh, g'day, Jeff. Harry says g'day back. Put your postcodes in. So, Lloydie, g'day, mate. We've got to put your questions in. Make sure that we get those questions up and running. Thanks to everyone that ordered some of the hoodies and shirts. Those orders will be processed very soon and out to you in the mail. But we've got to start here with the Pay It Forward campaign. So before I get Boothie on, we're going to talk about the Pay It Forward campaign. You all would have seen it out on my Facebook program. I've actually selected a winner. Now I've got to work out how to do this. So this is the prize pack here. So it was kindly donated by Tim Steinhaus. This whole pack, tackle box and everything turned up with all these lures in it. There's jackals, there's soft plastics, there's sliders, there's TT jig heads, there's bassman spinnerbaits and chatterbaits. So this is a great prize, and we've awarded this one. If I can get my stuff up properly, to Aidan Lodo. So Aidan was volunteered, I think, by a couple of people on my Facebook page, really into his fishing. So Aidan, you've won this pack. If you can get onto my Facebook page and send me your details. If you're not on tonight, I will contact you tomorrow to tell you that you've won that prize. We will have plenty more. I got phone calls today with more people sending some prizes through. So that's great. Thanks for getting on, and thanks for voting Aidan for that one. So it's not a popularity contest. I'm trying to give it to deserved people that need it. So thanks to everyone that dobbed somebody in for that. But anyway, that's enough talking to me. I better get the man on himself. Let's get Boothie on. G'day, mate. How you going?
All right, mate. How you going down there in sunny Victoria?
Yeah, well, look, sunny Victoria. Yeah, it's been cold evenings, but we're getting into August, so we're getting up to 6, 7, 8 degrees during the day. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sitting here in about 12 degrees, wondering if I can wrap my doona around me while we do this. So.
Yeah, that's it's anyway. We won't talk about weather. We could talk about that all night. I do appreciate that you've come on at short notice with tonight, and it's been great. You've sent some photos through. We want to talk about people that have inspired you in the fishing industry, whether it be the old stewards or some of the new guys coming through. So, and it doesn't have to be a TV personality or whatnot, but if you've got a little, if you want to ask a question about a personality or want to go into anything, I was quite privileged today. I jumped on and listened to the Doc Lewis podcast with Rexy for the 250th episode of that. So if anyone hasn't got onto Doc Lewis, jump onto Facebook or the streaming services. He has got a website as well. He's got 250 episodes talking about fishing. So if you are in Melbourne and looking for fishing content, there's some really great stuff on that. I've got a couple of mates that have been on there. But to talk to Rex was just great to listen to the yibbity yibbiter and some of the stories he was telling, and still loves his bait fishing, which is good to see.
Yeah, it was fantastic to listen to that today. He's one of those guys, I think, that everybody, certainly my vintage, younger and older, would have some story of Rex, some memory of how he's inspired them. And yeah, I've said it to hundreds of people over the course. He's that one guy. The very first time I met him, I was just awestruck. Like, he just had that something about him where I was gobsmacked. I was nervous. He just come up. He said, "Oh, Boothie, we've spoken on the phone. It's a real pleasure to meet you," and just made me feel so welcome. It was, just a hell of a good bloke.
So how did you first meet him?
I was working part-time at Complete Angler, believe it or not, with Adam Reuter, who we'll talk about later, hopefully.
Yep.
And Adam and Rex, or Adam did all the reports for the Complete Angler chain on Rex's radio show. And Rex was a regular customer in there, and Adam and him got along famously. So, it just happened to be one day I was working part-time down there at Moorabbin with Adam and the boys, and in walks Rex, and Adam introduced me. So, it was an amazing moment in my life.
Reuter is one of those guys in the fishing industry too that everyone loves. And as you said, we might talk about Adam a bit later on. We've got some photos and stuff to bring up. But let's go on to Rex. He's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, personalities in the fishing industry. And as you said, a lot of people have looked up to Rex throughout his times. I can remember him from his Richmond days through to Dad talking about how good a footballer he was, through to when the show started and getting onto the TV and doing the yibbity yibbiter, and then he brought along guys like Starlo and Bushy. They jumped into the show, but Reutz was one of those guys that was going to take over the world and take over the show when he finished. It's good to see Rex has got back into the digital age, and he started this whole new program that he's releasing some of the old footage and whatnot. And I seen one there last week or the week before that he was advertising, and he was a bit shell shocked that Reutz told him he was going to take over the show.
Yeah, that was a good show. I was actually in the camera boat driving that around with the producer and the camera guy, and I can tell you it was a whole lot tougher than that little clip made it look. And we spent pretty much a day and a half there, and Rex and Adam couldn't turn a scale. And that night at dinner, Rex had given us the old look. He said, "Look, boys, if we don't get something tomorrow morning fairly early, there's going to be a bit of big Rexy coming to have his way with you boys." And me and Ads looked at each other and just had a bit of a giggle, and he's given us that stern Rexy look, and we took it fairly seriously. So next morning he managed to get up that, it was about 85 centimetre cod on the stump jumper. It was, we were both breathing a fairly big sigh of relief. It was a fun couple of days.
And what a lot of people don't sort of realise, I suppose, is Rex is a very big man. He is a unit and a half, and he was a really good footballer. But we've got a photo here that we sent through, that you guys sent through. So tell us a little bit about this photo here.
Yeah, so this photo's where the other guy in the photo is Les Wilson, who's the founder of the company I currently work for, Wilson Fishing. He's now passed on, unfortunately, but he's one of the great icons of the industry. And that was the night at the AFTA awards ceremony where Les was being inducted into the AFTA Hall of Fame, or Life Membership, whichever they call it. And Rex was there to present it.
And I mean, have a look at the size of him there. I mean, it's like he's cuddling his teddy bear.
Yeah, well, Les is, he's probably my size, just 5'11", just under 6 foot. And, Rex towered over him, and he's actually bending down a little bit there to give him a cuddle. So, he's a massive, massive man.
Big cuddly teddy bear. I would never have liked to have got him on the wrong side of when he was a policeman. I've heard some stories of dark alleys and stuff like that might have been a bit scary back in the day.
Yeah, I actually did manage to get on the wrong side of him once, which was an interesting little episode. We were working with the Future Fish Foundation when it first started, when it was Rex Hunt's Future Fish Foundation, and we'd stocked 120 or 140,000 fish into Lake Eildon, and Rex has got on the radio and he's thanked all these big money sponsors. And being a bit older now, I can understand it. At the time I would have been 22, 23, something like that. And so I've sent off this email to him straight away. I said, Rex, we've got all these volunteers here who have wholly and solely come to see you and shake your hand, and they're not doing this for fishing or for recreational fishermen. They're doing it just, to be close to you and to see you. And we just happened to have the Melbourne Boat Show that weekend, and sure enough, Rexy's come in, he's got his finger and he's, wagging it in my face, and he's going, we need to have a chat later. I'm thinking, well, what's going on here? And Bill Klassen, who was my boss at the time at Freshwater Fishing, he's looked at me and gone, something's going on. About 10 minutes later, Stan Elves, who was Rex's manager at the time, come over and said, you need to have a chat to me, Boothie, what's going on? I said, I don't know. And then he explained the situation. I said, well, here's my point of view. And Stan said, well, you're right, he's wrong, I'll go sort it out. In the meantime, I'm basically sweating bullets out of every orifice in my body, just wondering how much I'm going to die and how quickly. And about 15 minutes later, Rexy come up, he put his arm around me, said, Boothie, I understand where you're coming from now. I thought you were having a personal attack on me, blah, 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 yada, yada. But, that's the scaredest I've been of Rexy, and, I wouldn't have liked to be on the wrong side of him as a policeman.
No, I heard some stories, growing up, and yes, he would have been a very scary man to be involved with back in the day. But he's done more than most for the fishing industry. I mean, the whole back in the day when we didn't have internet, we didn't have all this information on tap. He went from back in Channel O days through to the live bigger stations and whatnot, and really brought the catch and release scenario and only take what you need home into the forefront, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and he goes into that in that Doc Lewis interview a little bit and sort of gives you the history of how it all came about, which I didn't know that myself. It was really good listening to it. So, he didn't do it as easy as everybody reckons. He didn't instantly walk into being Mr. Rex Hunt, Mr. Famous. Everything, the overnight successes of the world tend to take 10 years to be a success.
Yes, and it all goes down to hard work. I was really so looking forward to having the Skeezy boys on and really drumming that point across, that it's not about, internet fame. It's about the work that they've put in, and these guys have put in a massive amount of work, and hopefully in a few weeks' time we can get them on and talk about it. But, I was talking to Mitch a couple of days ago, getting him ready for the show, and they were at a count of somewhere around 60 metre-long cod for the year. And that sort of blew me away. And he said, no, don't get me wrong, Corey. He said, 40 of them, me and my brother, and 60 of the people in my boat. And I'm sort of like, that's 60. And he goes, yeah, but I fish at minimum once a week.
Yeah.
And that's over a long period of time. So, and different dams. It's not just a one waterway wonder. So we'll talk about them another time. So talking about big personalities, I found another one in the photos that you sent through. A lot of people down Victoria might know this guy here, but in the background there we've got a photo of Jace Wilhelm. Now, Jace is another unit that I wouldn't like to cross in a dark street, but he really revolutionised that whole charter side of things up in Queensland. He was based, it was Wonga, wasn't it?
Yeah, Woonga, and that picture there is actually from Mondi.
Yep.
But yeah, fished with Jason. He had that amazing footage. I think it was fishing down under with John Hankey. He had that footage of that surface frogging
Yep.
with Shannon from Daiwa, and wow, I saw that, and just amazing that someone worked out that that's how Barra could eat in the middle of winter. So he was before his time in a lot of ways, Jace, and strongly opinionated, and given his history, if you know anything about his history in the Navy, I'm not sure you'd want to mess with Jace either.
No, and that's why I brought him up as me second choice. So I actually know Jace through Matty Langford, of course, who's good friends with him. But when I first started in the caravan park industry, I ran a little dam called Paradise Dam Caravan Park, and it was up on Paradise Dam in just outside of Childers, and it was stocked with Barra, but nobody could catch them. And I rang Jason up, and we'd teed up that he was going to come down and going to film a couple of shows on Paradise, showing people how to catch Barra. But that was right when the floods hit, and then it all went pear-shaped from there. But if anyone is up on the Tweed Coast, isn't it? The Tweed Coast, they can still partner with Jace. He's doing saltwater charters now. I can't remember the name of his business, but if you are in around the Tweed Coast, that Gold Coast area, and you want to go out on a charter, Jace Wilhelm is the man to go.
Yeah, he's just a gun at fishing. He's one of those guys that knows it intimately and knows how to apply that intimate knowledge to make it all come together. I don't mind saying he was my first metery barra was with him. Got me a $1.16 on a frog. So it was myself, Jason, and mate Trent Butler, who worked at Fishing Monthly with me that day on the boat there, and we had bow waves coming to the side of the boat, and we were squealing like 16-year-old girls. It was just so much fun.
Yeah,
and we had caught 3 or 4 fish for the day. But just it will live in my memory for the rest of my life. That day, it was fantastic, and just listening. If you took the time to listen and do what he said and apply it elsewhere, you could learn a heap from him.
Yeah, very. He was AFC. He did all of that stuff as well. So he could fish tournaments. He could fish bass. He could fish Barra. Now he's doing the saltwater stuff. Absolutely freak when it comes to every different style of fishing, and well before his time to nut out cold winter Barra, I suppose, in an impoundment, eh?
Yeah, it's the impossible dream. Much like Rod McKenzie kept saying to all the cod fishermen, go in winter, the fish are bigger, they're harder, but they're bigger. Jace the same. He said, said to me one day, which is something I take every time I go barra fishing. You never ever see a skinny barra in September when they magically come on the bite.
Yeah.
So they're eating. You just got to work out how they're eating.
And we've got a couple of questions here. Let's have a look what's come up. Scotty Gallick has said, met Rex years ago and he convinced me to change the handle on my spinning reel to the left-hand side, and I've never looked back. Did you convert when Rexy was telling everyone to change hands?
I changed from right-hand wind on a spin reel to left-hand wind, thanks again to Adam, and that was more with tournament casting at the time because it was a much quicker way to do it. You cast with your right hand, so you wind with your left. So that's why I converted. It's another point of discussion I've had with Rex over that, and I'm going. My theory with it is you do what you feel comfortable with. Fishing's supposed to be fun. If it's hard and a drama and a hassle, just wind with your right hand if you're comfortable doing that. So, more correctly, absolutely, you should always wind with the non-casting hand. More correctly, but what's correct for me is not correct for you, so do what you feel like.
No, and I found I never changed. One, because I was too uncode, and whenever I tried it, I didn't want to do it. And two, I could actually, I cast both hands with a bait caster. I always reel, but I can, from many years of kayak fishing, I learned how to cast with my Hobie. My right hand was always on the controller, so I learned how to cast very accurately, so I can do that both hands, but I always stuck with the right hand with the spin stick. I thought my guns are big enough, I don't have to worry about it, but I never chased GTs and stuff like that where I probably would have needed to change hands. But good point there, Scott. Thanks for that. What else have we got? Paul Piper said he ran into Rex. There we go. I would speak to Rex every morning at the National Golf Course overlooking the view at Montague Island. So, there's another Rex story there.
Yeah, he loved that southern coast of New South Wales. He's just big on that and always has been.
All right, Mark Cook's got an eye. Boothie, out of all the guys that you've met, well known or not, who's been the most influential on your career?
Early on, probably Bill Klassen. I met Bill when I was 16, maybe a little bit younger, at a Melbourne boat show. And, and I was starstruck meeting Bill. It wasn't that awestruck that I was with Rex. It was more just, wow, this is Bill Klassen and he's talking to me. He was the first editor in my writing career to reject an article. So first one I tried to write for Freshwater Fishing, he just sent it back and said, "Nah, not good enough, fix this, and this." And then, 3 years later I was working for him as a sub-editor. So, I'd say early on, definitely Bill, and his ex-wife now, Helen, who was the editor at the time, and she taught me a lot about editing articles. So,
back in the day when you didn't have spell check and used a lot of liquid paper, I take it.
Yeah, back in the day when you actually, to do things called M dashes and N dashes, you had to know little codes to type into the computer rather than just hold Shift Control Dash.
And that's a very young Bill Klassen there in that photo you've sent through. Met Bill a lot of times throughout my time, but never actually got to talk to him. So, it was always a passing g'day over a counter or over the stall or whatever it was. But I think I'd be very very starstruck to even today to run into Bill. He's just done so much in the fishing industry. I've always read the magazines and still this day still buy the magazines. I don't do the digital. So
Bill was the probably the starter of those niche magazines with Freshwater Fishing Mag, and it was my Bible growing up, and that's why it was such a thrill to have an article rejected, which I don't think happens enough these days for the young guys. They don't get that rejection, but it was rejection with help. It wasn't get away from me, you're hopeless. It was, there's some promise there. If we can do this, this, and this, it'll be better. So you actually, you reject and give the person a chance to learn, and that's what Bill did. So 30, 40 years later, here I am, just lauding Bill's help in those early years and saying thanks for rejecting an article.
Have you still got that article?
That article I changed around. And the first article I ended up getting published in Freshwater Fishing. It was ended up being titled Power Strike. And braid had just come onto the market, and I'd just learning how to, transforming from the estuary perch days over to cod and yellowbelly. So, it was, and the crunch of a yellowbelly on a lure, especially those ones around Bundalong, as you know, they just smack it so hard. And, so that was the first article I did in Freshwater Fishing after a bit of modification and help from Bill.
Yep, no, and that's it. I do agree with you. I'm a bit, what can I say? I was illiterate at school. I didn't really study that well. My spelling is absolutely terrible, but I still get on to read articles now that are published in digital formats and still look at it and shake my head. And if I can find faults with it, I mean, guys that know proper English and can spell, would be tearing these articles apart.
Yeah, and that happens, but there's a place for all of it. I think fishing nowadays is much less formal than it was, say, 30 years ago. When I was 20 to 25, 25 years ago, it was much more formal. The English was much more formal. Now we're far more relaxed with it all. It's come an interesting way. I see stuff on Facebook and social media, and the old editor in me just wants to pull my eyes out. But you just move on and get with it, old timer. Get over yourself.
Now, I agree, and as I said, I'm the worst at it, so I shouldn't be picking on anyone because but that's just the way of the time. So, listen, I'll keep running through these photos. There's been some good questions come through. Timmy Steinhaus, we gave away your prize earlier on, so that was run by Aidan Lodo, and we don't want to talk. Hey, Tim, you look, here we go. He's picking on me here, so I'll just bring this up. Corey can spell and have teeth and hair. So I'll tell you that we're in 6 weeks of lockdown stuff going on, and I finally booked in to get this tooth replaced. So tomorrow I'm having about 6 teeth pulled, so I might be able to talk on next week's show to hang shit on you, Tim, but I'm finally getting these teeth fixed, so leave me alone. All right. Let's go on to these two. These two guys here, I just I've watched them. What have they been on, 13, 14 years now?
Yeah, I think they're 10 years of actual Channel 7 type stuff, and I think they had 2 or 3 years just in Tassie.
Yeah, so the boys themselves, Andrew and Nick, they're just watchable. I just love the fact that they are just watchable. They there's content and but the banter between the two, they must be best of mates.
Yeah, they get along really well outside of it. I've had the fortune to do a couple of shows with them, normally trailing around again in the camera boat while they go fishing with the goat up at Copeton. And, always at the annual after trade show, they come up for a couple of days and have a poke around, and they're just, they're ripping blokes, just good old-fashioned blokes. Yeah, pity they're Tasmanians, but, that's okay. We can't have everything. Yeah.
Look, they're from across the ditch, but the wrong ditch. We'd probably accept New Zealanders before we accept Tasmanians. All right, so too loud. I want to get them on the show one day. And both the guys, worked on it to get it all the way through. It's not as if their success happened overnight either. It was a long sort of journey for them. I want to stress enough that it's not overnight. It's the continual work all the way through.
Yeah, well, I haven't found anyone. Even you look at the biggest players now, like Paul Worsling and those sort of guys. They all came from a very, very low grade and worked their way into it. He part-timed on Rex's show and then did his own stuff, and but these guys, that they probably a few of the only ones in the fishing media who have been professionally trained. Their whole career was actually being in front of a camera.
Yep.
In another life. They know how to do that part really, really well, but they don't let that professionalism dull it down. They be them. That's what you see on the show is what they're like face to face.
And that's the way I get it. They just seem so genuine with their banter that it can't be faked. It's like you were sitting on the boat with them, hanging shit with them.
Yeah, exactly, and they love that. We did a show at Eildon, and just had an absolute fat time. Andrew could not buy a bite. And, Nick traditionally is the single worst Murray cod fisherman in the whole of the world and caught all the fish on that particular show over the 2 days we were at Eildon. And, it was thick, and it did not stop. Even at night when we were back on the houseboat having dinner and that, it did not stop. If I was Andrew, Nick might have had several holes in his vital organs and been bait, but
that's what we like to hear. And for the people out there, we put these people up on pedestals, Rex and Billy Class, and you get all nervous and that around them. But we've got to remember that they are people themselves, and they have got personalities, and they're just as nice to talk to as anyone else. If you get them at the right time, you don't want to go to a boat show and try and talk to them. They've got 10 million people trying to talk to them all the time, but in the right place and the right time. I know I spent a couple of cracking evenings up at Boondooma with Andrew Eddinghausen, ET, and got to hear some of the good old footy stories and whatnot. And it's a funny story about with ET. He come up to do an article on bass fishing. We told him that the spoon bite was really good and he'd catch plenty of fish. And he turned up on the Thursday before a comp was due at Boondoomba on the weekend. And he said, "Oh, Corey, take me out for a fish." And I said, "Mate, I can't." I said, "I'm on pre-fish ban. I can't go out on the water." And he's like, "Oh, well, I've come all the way here to film it." And I thought, I'm going to have to miss out on the comp if I take him out. I said, "Look, no, just don't worry about it, mate." I said, "Just here's a Halco twisty." I said, "Take that out, go to the damn wall, just cast, count to 20 and wind." So he reckons that it was the best filming he's ever done. He was in the boat with him and just the cameraman, and he was able to send the drone up, and he'd cast out and he'd talk to the drone saying, "Yep, I'm going to catch a fish at 19." And he'd go 18, 19. "Yep, I'm on." And he got about 50 fish on camera that afternoon, and he's come back and he's telling all the boys, "Oh, this Corey guy, he's great," and rah. Of course, what happened with the comp is the fish completely shut down. He'd slayed everything in the main bay, and nobody caught a fish for the weekend.
That's what happens. That's exactly what happens. So, yeah, and that was we had with the hook, line, and sinker boys at Eildon. We did a tour of Snobs Creek, which is a fish hatchery for Victorian fisheries, and we were looking at the cod in the tanks there, just waiting to see them move or do something to show us that the bite was on. So, we're pretty desperate there for a little while. It was, I've never done TV where it's been super easy.
No, and they say that. I did a few episodes for local tourism stuff for Boondoomba and BP and Paradise Dam with Creek to Coast and Queensland Weekenders and stuff like that. And they all wanted to come up and catch fish like that. And it's like, no, we're not doing that. So
it's never easy. The cameras turn the fish off.
Yeah, it makes it hard. Look, we've got Joel Mortimer said, "Listening to Rex today made me reflect on how I started for me, floating worms and yabbies around for reddies, my dad and grandfather. How did you get into fishing, Boothie?"
Well, fairly similar, actually. It's I spent a lot of time at a little place called Naya West on my holidays when I was a kid. So that was about 7.5 hour drive from my home at Ringwood. And Naya West is maybe 30, 40 Ks out of Swan Hill, just to put everyone in the picture about where it is. And we'd go camping on the Murray every Easter and every Christmas. And that's my childhood memories of learning to fish. So we'd go and catch yellow bellies and carp. And if we were really, really lucky after we'd finished rabbiting, we'd stick the punt on the boat on the top of the car and head over to one of the little farmers' dams and go and catch reddies, ironically, on yabbies and worms.
Yep.
So, that's a big part of my growing up.
No, I agree, and I'll get back onto that. Harry's just sent me through the postcode winner, Salty Horrigan 3134. So the postcode winner tonight, Salty.
Good postcode. Postcode at Ringwood.
Was it? Yeah, the Ringwood. That's it. So Salty, send me through your details. I know you've won a prize before. Your name sticks out, but still send it through so I can send you out your postcode prize. Going back onto the reddies, we grew up on a little hobby farm just out of Kyneton, and we had a little dam on the farm. And I can remember I'd get home from the school bus, jump on me push bike, me rod, me float, me bucket of worms that I dug from the chook pen, and I'd go down there and just catch and release reddies all afternoon. And my brothers weren't so much into it, but I did. It sort of pulled up in a big hurry when they got slug guns. I'd be down there fishing and you'd get a ding over the top of your head, and it was like, I don't want to fish anymore. And Mum didn't believe me that they were shooting at me, but they were. So,
no, well, you got to have injuries before they believe you.
Yeah, that's it. So, I've got another question here. With someone like me new to fishing, this is Callista Craig. So with someone like me new to fishing, I find myself overwhelmed with what people put on YouTube and Facebook. What would advice you give to newbies?
There's actually a hook, line and sinker podcast to go back to Andrew and Nick that they did specifically for new people. So get onto their Facebook page or drop them a message on there and they'll be able to link you through to it. And that takes you through all the basics of bait fishing and selection of hooks and all that sort of stuff. It's really, really good for beginners.
I forgot about that. That is good. And I believe that's through Spotify. So, yeah.
But if I was advising you, just go to your local tackle shop and, spend a dollar or two and get to know the people there and everyone in a tackle shop. I know when I was working in a tackle shop, the guys who were the full-timers there, I was only a part-timer. Like, I thought the sun literally rose out of their bottoms. That's how good they were at fishing. So, that they are a wealth of knowledge and will be able to guide you through the simplest to the most difficult of your fishing needs.
Yeah, and I suppose too that most of your smaller tackle shops, they need to give you good advice as well. If they give you bum advice, you're not going to go back to them. So there is some cracking shops out there, especially around your way, Callista. I know you're a big supporter of the show. I go out to Charlton's, have a talk to the boys in at Charlton's. If you're out Toowoomba way, Fishing Bits, Nathan and the crew out at Fishing Bits, they're great for that dam stuff. I know you like going to Somerset. Robbie at Somerset Tackle, he'll give you the inside information of what's happening at the dam. So, good question though.
Yeah, it is a good question. I mean, everyone often forgets that the beginners still need to be helped. So, we should always try and do that. And given your history at Boondooma and Bajolki, you'd know as well as I do that if you can get yourself some shrimp, put them on one of those Carly-style hooks and just drop it down into a school of fish, you'll soon catch fish and start to work out what's happening. So, there's very simple ways to do it, or there's very difficult ways to do it, like trying to catch them on lures and fly.
Yeah, yes, definitely, I agree. And that was a breath of fresh air. Once again, going back to Rex, listen to him today talking about bait fishing, and there's not enough of it. I still do it. I still enjoy it. I've got no problem with it. It is an effective way to go fishing, especially if you're taking kids or you're just getting out. But, there's nothing worse than telling somebody to go out and grab a big swim bait or a big thing and cast for cod, and they'll get sick of it by the end of it because they just don't know, what they're doing. So,
yeah, and that's like I went to Copeton 3 trips in a row without even getting a bite, doing all the guru stuff with all the gurus who actually knew what they were doing, and so it's easy enough to donut, and there's people just sitting there camping, having a beer next to the campfire on the bank, catching meteries.
Yeah, and I suppose another, going back onto Callista's Crescent, YouTube and Facebook is probably not always the best place to get all of your information from, because you can get one-hit wonders or guys that only post when they catch fish up. So you've got to understand that everyone goes out there and everyone has a donut. Everyone can go out there and not catch fish or lose fish or drop fish. Nobody goes out there and catches them all the time. I don't care who you are. Nobody does. So don't get disheartened with it. Keep on going and keep trolling. I know you ask a lot of questions about trolling. Keep doing it and don't let anyone tell you that it doesn't work, because especially at Somerset, you will brain them trolling lures at Somerset. Don't worry about that.
Last time I went to Somerset, we were having a bit of trouble catching them on spoons and the like. So I was with a friend who's newish to fishing and his 8-year-old kid. And, we got out the small deep diving lures and just trolled around over the schools. We were trying to catch a fish with the spoons and just fish after fish after fish. It was, for an 8-year-old, it was a fat time. He loved it. So, don't ever not troll because someone reckons it's, their only bass if you catch them on the cast.
Yeah, no, that's not true. And I really, Mark Cook recently took me up to Dartmouth, and we set a challenge that we were going to catch them on fly casting and trolling. We could only catch them on trolling, so that's all we did, and it was so enjoyable. It was just great to sit back. We could boil the kettle, have a beer, and troll some lures, and we caught some good fish. So don't write it off. It's about having fun. It's not about what everyone else is doing. All right, got a great question here. It's a long question. So, Ashley Barber. Hey, Boothie, I can relate to having an article for FWF not quite up to scratch back when you were sub-editor. You took the time to explain how to improve and eventually make the cut and become a regular contributor. I look back fondly. What's happened to you has happened to Ashley, obviously.
Well, I think your role, regardless of who you are in fishing, is to help people. If you're not prepared to help people, then it's pointless. I've never had any great aims to be the guru, the hero, the legend, or anything like that. And I get as much, if not more, joy watching new people do stuff. Like get your first article published or catch your first meatery or whatever the case may be. So I just think helping people along the way where you can is the best way to go about it. So I don't do secret squirrel stuff because I'm not good at lying.
No, and I love it. I love seeing people get on, and I love comments like Clarissa's just put in there. Thanks, Heap. Absolutely love it. We love all your questions. Keep them coming in. Don't be frightened to ask those questions. This is what this format was always set up to do. When COVID first hit and I thought I was going to be bored shitless, sitting at home, not being able to fish, I wanted to get some mates together and get on and talk out there and, as you were sitting around the campfire. And so far, we've had 21 guests on, a couple of return guests, but it's get on there, ask your questions. I know that there's hundreds of people in the background that just get on there and watch. And I talked to a few guys up the river, ran into them up the river, and they said, "Oh, you're Corey. We've seen your show." I said, "Well, tell us about this." I said, "Well, why didn't you ask the question?" "Oh, we don't want to ask." So get on there, ask those questions, guys, because we will answer them. Don't think it's a silly question. Just get on and ask them.
I'll just add one thing about Ash there. He's actually a bit of a gun, so there was no worries about him ever being good enough. That's for sure.
It's a great for him to get on there and say that. So what have we got here? Paul, question, is plastic Barty grub as good as a real one? Also plastic worms as long as you need them to be. That's Paul Piper. What do you think, mate?
I've seen cheese Barty grubs, and they work pretty well. And I've used real Barty grubs, and they work really, really well. Apart from the pickers destroy them at about $3 or $4 each or whatever they are now, it gets a bit expensive. I've seen the plastic ones and never really used them, only because I reckon my skills at the time that I saw them wouldn't have allowed me to catch fish on them. Most of my Barty grub fishing's been sedentary fishing. By that I mean you're just chucking your bait out and you're sitting and waiting. Whereas if it's a plastic, you tend to be more lure fishing. So, I'd probably be more inclined to have a good go at one nowadays that I know a bit more about soft plastic fishing. But when I tried or had access to plastic Barty grubs back then, I didn't have the skill set to use it. So,
yeah, look, and I agree, Paul. It's what you're comfortable with, mate. If you're out there and you want to use and you're confident in using the plastics, go for it. If you can afford the $3 or $4 each for the real ones, go for that as well. Last weekend we were up the ovens, or the weekend before, and we had a Barty grub on all weekend and never caught a fish. So that's how it goes. So that's just fishing, mate.
You could also go chipping your own Barty grubs and break your back.
Yeah, well, we used to do that when we were younger, but that's not it.
Yeah, that's one of those younger things.
Yeah, that's a younger thing. Jordan, yes, that is a dirty Essendon beanie. I've been a lifelong Essendon supporter, so look, I've had to put up with it for 20 years. It's water off a duck's back for me. Clarissa's put in there 55 centimetres. See, Clarissa, you don't get confused. You've just put in there your PB is 55 centimetres from Somerset. That is a cracking fish by anyone's imagination. You, if that's what you're doing and you're catching them trolling, keep doing it.
Absolutely. That's a ripper.
All right. Jordan Stoddard here. Boothie, Barra or cod?
Cod because I love them, but that is the only reason. If I want to go and have spectacular fishing, Barra every day of the week. But if I'm weighing both up, it's cod for me, and that's an absolute personal preference. Why? They don't fight that hard. They're big, fat, lazy slobs, but I love them to death. So, cod for me, but gee, I love catching Barra. They're so much fun.
Look, yeah. I was only just who was I talking to today? Somebody rang me today to ask me how I was going for for the lockdown stuff and whatnot. And Paul Aldos, we were talking to, he's donated some prizes to the Pay It Forward, and he said, "Oh, you're going to fish the Barra comps next year." And I've been thinking about this for a couple of years. Now that I've moved down to Victoria, I think I might just go and do the ABT Barra week of Barra fishing, just because it's different, and I can do it all in the one lot of holidays and whatnot. So hopefully the borders are open by then. But yeah, we'll see how we go. I'm really not looking forward to getting to the Masters, and that's in November. So
there's going to be a lot of trouble, unfortunately, at the moment. But anyway, that's all right. We're not here to moan and groan. We're here to be positive and help people out.
That's it. Rebecca O'Connor said, could be worse. It could be a dirty Collingwood supporter. Thanks, Rebecca. That's all good. Now, listen, I want to bring this photo up you sent me today. Now, we won't say who this is yet, so I'm just going to bring this photo up here, and you'll see there's two people getting in this spa bath here. One at the front is obviously Boothie. The first person that can name the person in the back correctly will win a prize. I'll give you a couple of minutes we're still talking about other stuff. But if you can name that person in the background there in those funny looking, looks like silky boxes, you can. If you can name that person, you'll win the next prize. So, well, I'll leave that one up on the screen. I want to go to another great photo here. You've got you've sent me through one of the unsung heroes of the Cod Nationals. Where is he here? This guy here.
Yes, one of the great men of the Nationals is a 3-time champion in different teams, and I was lucky enough to fish with him the year that we won it, Pav and I. So yeah, great man.
So tell us about Pav. He slides under the radar there, and guys don't really give him the acknowledgement he deserves. But 3-time winner of the Cod Nationals, that's some good going.
Yeah, it is. He's hugely talented at fishing. And I grew up with these people, so I'm allowed to say it. He's extremely stereotypical ethnic, but that's okay. That makes him absolutely lovable, and I love him to death, and I love all of his foibles and the like. And he's now making lures, which is fantastic, which are great lures. But Pav, I first met Pav working for Wilson's. So I walked in the door, and my boss said to me, "Boothie, you're going with Pav to fish the Cod Nationals." So righto, what's that all about? And he said, "Oh, Pav needs a team member, and it's about time that we had a proper Wilson team go down there." So, within 6 months of starting working for Wilson, Pav and I are sitting there with Tony Bennett holding up this big phony check, and and just loving every minute of it.
That's the check down there at the bottom.
Yeah, and I dove into a bit of Pav's background, and found out he'd won 2 previously, and got to know him really, really well on that trip, and just a hell of a nice guy, and absolutely gun at fishing my whaler, but flies under the radar and doesn't want to be above the radar either. Like has no interest in, loves that people respect his fishing, but has no desire whatsoever to be the Mull whaler hero.
Yeah, and what's he doing now, work-wise?
Now he's basically making lures, pimped up lures.
PML is a Pimp My Lures.
No, that's Dan Stead.
That's Dan Stead.
Yep, and he does pimped up lures. So it's almost the same, but a bit different. So he's making hard bodies for cod and yellow bellies. He also repaints a whole bunch of lures. He's done some fantastic work with gigantrels and gantrels and all that sort of swim bait stuff for customers. It's hugely talented. His history is he made Thunderbolt lures, which are a Tassie Devil style lure, or a wing, I should call them, rather than a Tassie Devil lure. So he made those. He's done poppers for salmon and kingfish and that sort of stuff. So I've been doing it for years, and yeah, his best part for me, which I just happened to go through his portfolio, was he used to do body painting on models.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so yeah, he said, "Oh, I used to do this." Oh, really? Did you? I don't believe you. So he showed me his portfolio, and yeah, he was ridiculously talented with an air gun, and that's transferred over to his lure making. So
To his lures. So yeah, if you want to get some really cool stuff, I know he's at the Classic every year, isn't he?
yeah, and Vanessa has him in her shop.
Yep.
Down there, if anyone's allowed to actually go there from Victoria, I don't think they are anymore.
We can still get across I call into the Yarrawonga shop because Tony's normally hiding in there doing nothing. So go and see Tony. Vanessa's always in the Moala shop doing all the work.
It's better to keep those two separated most of the time anyway.
Yes, that's it. Listen, we've got a winner. Somebody has picked it. It is Matthew Wales. Matthew has correctly announced that the person in the background of that photo is Adam Reuter. So, listen, if I can scroll through here, I want to find the other photo for people that don't know what Adam sort of really looks like now. So here's Boothie and Adam together in a fishing trip, and this is a few years back. But he's swallowed a few sheep there by the looks of it.
Yeah, he's the bigger guy that ate the skinny Reuter. So
I couldn't believe that when you sent that photo through. I spent all afternoon trying to work out who that was. We had some guesses asking that it might have been Langford, Harry Watson, and other guys, but yes, it was young Adam Reuter. So there we go.
A real young Adam Reuter at Millbrook Lakes. So fly fishing for trout when he was trying to teach me how to fly cast, which is good luck to him teaching me how to do that properly.
He was a gun caster. Well, probably still is. I watched that just recently. I think ABT might have re-released a casting video he did not that long ago, and he's just a freak casting.
Oh, he's a freak. I had the pleasure, I'll say, of living with Adam for about 3 years. And yeah, all we did out the backyard was cast. And he's, as I said before, he's the guy who made me wind thread line with my left hand, which is all about that casting stuff. So he was scary good at it. And that was all three disciplines: bait caster, thread line, and fly.
Royce is actually on the list, the wannabe list. I've got a list on my wall that's sort of always out of the camera, and when people pop up or I talk to people and whatnot, Royce is up there on the top of the list as somebody that I'm going to get on the show eventually, and love to have a chat with. So we'll talk to that. So
ultimate breaker of stuff. That's my biggest memory is something goes wrong, Ads is going to be involved, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, you just go back to a few weeks ago when they finally announced why the disqualification in AFC come about.
Yep.
And he crashed the boat into a charter boat. I mean, that's just right. So, Matthew, you won that prize. Send me through your details and I'll send you out your prize. So that's the first prize. Let's go back here. Looking at some more questions. Jimmy Steinhaus, so another supporter of the show. Hey, Boothie, I want to crack my cod, Jerry. I'm looking at breaking records, but want to go to a place. Where do I catch one on a lure? Where's your pick?
I think while we still can, New England region is probably the closest for him. Other than that, you can break your balls trying to catch a cod at Somerset or some of the other lakes where they've been stocked minimally. You could illegally go fish the Mary, but we're not going to recommend that. And they're not Murray cod anyway. So, and they should probably be left alone. New England, I think. And that, if you go into gorge country there, if you can't catch one in 50 casts of doing mostly the right thing, then you're in the wrong spot. So, then it's not going to be big. There are big fish in there, but there are tons and tons of Murray cod that you can catch at least one, I'm sure. Yep,
that's it.
But Timmy can ring me anytime. I'll help him out. If he needs an excuse to go, I'll take him.
Yeah, well, he just said another crack. Thanks, Tim. So I tried once with a guide. It was rubbish. I took him out to Hume and it was blowing its tits off. So we went down behind the damn wall and I got busted off on a big trout, but didn't catch him his cod. So
Yeah. That's all right. You can lead a horse to water, as they say.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Sometimes it's not the guide's fault after all, is it?
Let's see what other questions we've got now. While I'm looking through the questions, it's probably rude of me to look through the questions while we're not talking about anything. Find a photo that we haven't brought up yet. Recently, we've been in contact, you and I, and you've set me up with some of this guy here.
Yep.
And I knew nothing about him until you introduced me to him a few weeks back, and I think I've watched every video that he's put out on YouTube over the last 3 weeks, just flat out. I just love the content that he's putting out on YouTube. Bone Lim, tell us about Bone.
So Bone originally made some bone rods for a different company. Then he joined the team at Zerich, and they've allowed him to grow and develop his own range of stuff, so lures and rods, and just absolute A-grade gun fisherman. Can cast the eyes out of anything, can make a lure dance. Yeah, there's people like, you talk about Dave Killerley, Rod Harrison, those sort of guys who make a lure actually dance and sing, and you're just looking at them working at it going, wow, how good does that look? Well, he's one of those guys. And I think the Asian guys are really, really good at making surface lures do their thing. That fish there actually ate a walk the dog lure, which is unusual for cod fishing. And I was sort of looking at him going, you're a bit mad. He said, oh, no, that's a new lure. I've got to try it. Snakehead eat it and all this sort of stuff. And, yeah, sure enough, up comes this 85-centimetre cod and nails it right at his feet. So,
yeah, that was around Copeton Way. You were with Joshy Usher on that episode, and I've watched all that video over and over and over again. Just absolutely unreal. If you can get on and have a look at it, have a look at how he makes that lure work. Some of the best footage I've seen of anyone walking the dog.
Yeah, and can make it walk the dog virtually on the spot. In heavy current, we used to fish prawn stars down deep for jacks over snags and try and keep them in the front of the snag. But he can do that with a walk the dog lure that most Australians are giving some forward motion to get it to work properly. It's quite amazing to watch.
It's like it is moving at right angles, and it's just phenomenal. So he come out to Australia a couple of times over the last couple of years and done a fair bit of filming. But some of that black bass stuff that he's done up there was just insane to watch. I know sometimes you can't understand what they're saying, but just to watch the footage and the raw footage and the peacock bass stuff that they're doing over there, and where, as you said, casting, he's walking down with these little travel rods in between trees that are this close to him, and he's doing his little flick out, and I'm looking at it going, that went 65 meters plus.
Yep.
Where you couldn't even fit the rod through the trees.
Yeah, their tip casting skills. The only other person I've seen do tip casting like that's Dave Hodge, and he was as good as anybody I've ever seen cast. But yeah, these guys, wow, and they do it in the field and they do it so good.
Yep. Now I've got a one here. I'll just hide Bone there for a minute. Graham Wilson is put. Obviously, that's Pav. Pav did the best portrait of the late Les Wilson that is hanging on the Wilson office. Pav is a part of the Wilson family, as is Boothie.
Yeah, well, that Willie's my big boss. So he's up on the farm hiding away from all of us people who could give him coronavirus, growing chooks and building chook pens. So Willie's, it's you talk about good people in the industry, and I'm not saying this because he's ultimately my senior boss, just one of the good people in the industry, just will give you all the love and space you need to do what you need to do and all the support. So, yeah, just as we've often said at our trade show meetings, Willie gives us the space and the time to to hopefully make him a really rich man by the end of it. But I don't think he's feeling that at the moment with all the coronavirus and that.
Yeah, well, coronavirus has knocked everyone in the arse, but you just got to do what you can do, I suppose. And he'd probably be saying the same thing: just keep plugging away.
Yeah, but that portrait I think was for the 60-year anniversary of Wilson's, and yeah, I've got a picture at work of it, and it's magnificent. Yeah, it's a lifelike resemblance of Les when he was a real young fella when he first started, and then an actual portrait of him at his current age, which was about 15 years ago now. So yeah, Pav's a very, very, very talented artist.
Absolute stalwart of the industry, though. The whole Wilson brand has been around for so long. I'd love to see that photo. If you can maybe take a photo of it and send it through, I'll put it on a future show so all the guys out there can view it. Because obviously it's a pretty good one. Let's hide that now. Going to Dale Sinclair, obviously part of the stocking group up there at Somerset, Wivenhoe. They'll be putting another $5,000 worth of Marys into Somerset and Wivenhoe this year.
There you go. Well, that's good. There's actually apparently a few Murray cod in Somerset that I've been told about, but obviously a few more Marys. Those boys and Dale and Fitzy and those sort of guys have for years and years done mountains and mountains of work making all these fish available to sort of just average Joes like us who want to go catch a bass, a yella, or hopefully. I mean, I've never caught a Mary River cod, so I need to go and do that one day. But keep stocking them, Dale, so I can catch them legally.
Look, a bycatch always. When I was doing a lot of kayak fishing up around Maryborough in the Mary River, I had some property access right up the back between Gympie and Maryborough, and they were a bycatch up there. You didn't target them, but sometimes they hit the lures. But very impressive fish, and I have actually. I am lucky enough to say that I have caught cod at Somerset as well. It was many moons ago at a Kirkley Classic, so I won the biggest fish for the Kirkley Classic on a big Murray cod there.
Nice.
So we'll bring up this question from Ashley Boothie. One of the best articles I can ever recall was one in Fishing Monthly Annual sometime back. You recorded a week's fishing on the Murray comparing spinnerbaits versus hard bodies with all being equal.
Yep.
It was so out of the box. I can't read the rest of
Yeah, I remember that article though. It was Ainsy and I. So Ainsy's probably been my best mate since university days. And yeah, that was
Ainsy's your tick friend, isn't he?
Yeah. The famous tick friend.
Yeah. All right.
That was second year of uni, so we were just getting our love affair going.
Yeah.
But Ainsley's very anal with, pardon the pun, with keeping statistics. He's that sort of guy. So we've always kept data on what we've caught, the interactions we've had, hookups, missed bites, follows, all that sort of stuff. So it enables me to, categorically now, 30 years later, say if I need to catch just a legal Murray cod in my whale at any given time, I'll probably chuck a spinnerbait. We'll catch 2 cod out of 3 fish caught on spinnerbaits, and if we use hard bodies, we'll catch 2 yellow bellies. And that's statistics over a long, long time now. But yeah, that article was basically mostly Ainsley's work, and I co-authored a bit. And yeah, it was interesting. Like we surprised ourselves with some of the stuff you come up when you keep stats. So, all those old fuddy-duddies who say keep diaries, it actually does work.
Yep, and for the guys that haven't been keeping a diary, a few episodes back, where were we? We were talking to Adrian Malkia, which would have been episode 15, and he talks about how he uses his finder as part of his diary. So it goes back to his GPS and separates him into months where he's put GPS marks and what he's caught, and uses his finder as part of his system of taking a diary. So I thought that was a good point from a few weeks back.
Yeah, we do that with the flathead locally here to my place. Any flathead over 60 centimetres on my sounder gets a mark with the person's initials, the date and the length of it. So, you kind of tend to go back to those spots and catch more fish. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a little sense, but it's handy when you're struggling. Oh, okay, it's April. We can catch some fish here because we've caught fish here before of good size. So, yeah, sounders are much more useful than just looking at the bottom these days.
Oh, yeah, to no end. And once again, going back to having the skiersies, boys, I've had langers on. We've talked about live scope and whatnot. It's not catching them more fish, but I think it's teaching them more about the fish so they can catch them. We'll get them on into a future show, but we've talked about this a lot, that being able to see that live movement of the fish when if your wine's fast enough, slow enough, whatever it is, that's the teaching. And then they're over a long period of time, they're learning so much. So
yeah, I say to people, if you haven't got the money to buy one, never ever step foot in a boat with one on it. Never ever.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you money.
I sat there, and I'm not I went to Wyangler for the first time, fishing an AYC, and I'm scanning up cod on the side scan of my finder and finding heaps of them. And then I just watched these boys come along with their little, we call them pole dancers. They got the little pole, and they're pole dancing up the front, and they're not casting. I'm like, do you mind if I go? Yeah, go around. So they go around, and then they stop and they go, yep, I'm on. And I'm like, what the hell? I've just spent 3 hours casting this bank, and they're straight in there and onto it. I'm like, I think they call it six meteries for the comp.
Yeah. They're elite level in every sense of the word. And they were doing it before all the live scope came out, and they were good then, but they're scary good now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And here's another guy that catches a lot of fish, but I don't think this guy's actually using live scope, is he?
No, Josh is still on his hummingbirds and loves them. And I think Capeton's a little different fishery from, say, Wyangler and the Dubbo Lakes and those sort of areas, because there's not as much standing timber that you fish. Side imaging works really, really well for the way they scan those barren banks at Capeton. So, the goat, and that was from Andy and Nick from Hook, Line and Sinker. They called him Goat, so I'll blame them. And if Josh is listening, trust me, it was them. He knows it. But he's as good a natural angler who pays attention to the whole environment around him that I've ever fished with. It's quite amazing. And again, it's learning stuff from him. We spent one of the AYC Capeton cod comps. We got 3 meteries in 3 days, and that was all to do with Josh telling us how to fish what we were trolling. I said, drop it back 2 meters, bring it back up, hold your rod tip up, and it's just working the contours. We were only trolling in maybe 6 feet of water.
Yeah.
And he's spotting fish. He's going, right, there's fish coming up on, that was on Banksy's side, on his side of the boat, and there's a fish coming up on his side, so he'd drop his rod back. And just the amount of work that went into the trolling for those fish gave absolutely credence to the fact that trolling is not just chuck it out and go. It's about knowing what you're doing. And we could have probably cast those banks, but at the time the fish were eating trolled lures. So, 3 metres in 3 days I was pretty happy with that. I thought that was a result.
Yeah, stoked. And if you're ever heading to Capeton and it's your first time, or you want to learn, look him up on Facebook. Josh Usher does charters around that area. So hopefully I can get up there one day and we might go and walk some of those rivers and streams out the back. That'll be awesome.
If you enjoy being on Horse's Hoof, the streams there are just fantastic to walk up. So, a heap more action than, say, in the big pond. Fish certainly aren't as big, but you can get big ones. And just good fun.
Yep. Well, I'm going through questions here. Paul Paul Langley's got one here. How do we convince the DPI to stock cod in Glenbourne and St Clair? I'm not 100% sure on that, Paul, but I know there's some pretty big cod in Glenbourne. I've seen them free swimming.
Yep, and I haven't seen them, but I've heard of plenty of people get yellow bellies and stuff chewed off by them in Glenbourne. So,
yep.
I think they don't stock them now because they're a east draining catchment rather than a west draining catchment. So there might be that translocation issue, but yeah, it's those two lakes are premier bass fisheries. So yeah, you got to weigh that up against the joy of catching a big cod as to having a premier bass fishery. And yeah, you need to have premier bass fisheries. Same with premier golden fisheries and premier cod fisheries. So.
Yep. No, I agree. If you overstock it with one thing, you can lose the other. So, and we don't want to lose the bass out of there. I love going to Glenbourne.
Oh, it's a magic place to go to. I've really, really enjoyed my time there at the Freshwater Masters. So it's been super times.
Oh, there we go. I'm just going back through questions. Steve Cannon, wasn't Pav Howie the Yowie? I'm pretty sure that was right.
Yes, absolutely. He was Howie the Yowie.
That was a Redfin episode at Epilogue, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it might have been. I think he appeared once in Victoria and once in Tasmania. Yeah, so like everybody that works for Wilson's, unafraid to be an idiot. So.
Good memory there, Steve. That proves that you watched the show. Going back through questions, I think we're getting close to this.
How he's going with his lovely wife catching meteries off the bank there at Mulwala and him watching.
Yeah, and you know, what a great story. I mean, they bought the boat, they had it ordered, and they were due to, I think, pick it up. So they decided to go down for a fish off the bank, and she pulled a metery, and you know, in between the boats, and first metery to come in the new boat, I believe she caught as well. So
yep. She's having an absolute cracking good run of the big fish. So good on her. They're great stories too. I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah, love all those good luck stories and the fun stories. There was one earlier on that I was trying to go back and find. Fish on. What's your favourite fishing memory?
Oh, gee, that's a tough one. First metery would probably be it. It's a metre 25 off the top at Copeton, so struggled to breathe. Felt like I was going to vomit from the adrenaline after we let it go. So that was pretty cool. But the most satisfying memory is probably the Cod Nationals win with Pav. The Friday, the last day, it was when it was a 5-day event. The Friday we forgot our key tag and we had to drive back, and just made every mistake under the sun. Just that nervous that we were a chance to win, and up against Jamie Stewart and Bryden Whitfield, who were just smacking them at that time, and both seriously good anglers. And it was between us and them, and we came good in the last day, and it was such a good man. Still now, I look at the little trophy that we got and just smile stupidly.
As you would. It's on the hit list. It's a fishing comp that I will do until I can't do it anymore. Just love the concept, love the whole way, love the guys that run it. Tony and that just do a wonderful job. It's a great week of fishing. So, get on it if you can. Cod Nationals.
Definitely get on it. It's not the cheapest comp, but when you break it down for what you get for it, you get fed every single meal and you get the chance to, Thomas and his dad won 10 grand last year, so it's not muck around prize money.
And the food is good.
Oh, yeah, the food is plus 5 kilos for the week for yourself. Yeah. It's magic. It's a great event.
You can't eat it all unless you're little Benny Farrow that fishes with me sometimes. God, he can eat, but we all know why that is. All right, so I'm just going through the photos, making sure I've covered them all. We've talked about all of those. We've given the winners. What about these two? We haven't brought these two up. You do a bit of fishing with these two boys.
Yeah, Banksy and Lawso. So Shane is our Sydney rep for Wilson's. He's the guy who basically dragged me kicking and screaming to Windermere for the first time about 5 years ago. So I met Shane at the cod opening classic. He came down to help out Pav and I at the stand, and just got along really, really well. Since then, I've fished the 2 years Masters with Banksy, and Lawso's one of Shane's good mates. And on the boat, if it was recorded, we'd actually all be sent away to some institution somewhere. It's a hell of a good time on the boat. But those guys taught me all about grubbing. They introduced me to the skiers boys and a few of the guys from Parks and Forbes who are just A-grade guns, and always have a good time. And I reckon that's what fishing's about. It's just have fun. Just smile. If you smile at the end of the day, regardless of results, you've been worthwhile time being out there.
Yeah, look, you're right. You are dead right. I mean, we do it for the fun of it, and if you're not having fun, stop doing it. It's not worth the stress and the pressure. Just go out there and enjoy yourself and enjoy the environment. I got a re-release on life nearly a month ago now, when Harry caught his first meatery. 11 years old. And a metre 14. Yes, it was caught on bait, and yes, we were bank fishing off the bank and whatnot. I don't care. The smile and the chatter and everything that comes through. He still tells me he's better than me, and he wants to start his own show. And it's just great, and I really enjoy that. It's warming, and to get mates like you're saying there with the boys, that you're having fun on the boat. Those long 8-hour sessions when you're out there fishing become like 5-minute sessions because you're having so much fun.
Yep, and that's exactly all it is. It's having fun. So, and I think that whole group, Skiers boys, Braddo, Mickey Hayden, all those guys from out that way, Loomsy, the guys from Outback Angler, Aaron, and those sort of guys. Just all of it is about having fun. They take their competition fishing very, very seriously, but they will always help. They'll always share, and they'll always smile.
Yeah, that is so true. And I don't know if that's a bit of the country boys in them. A lot of those guys are from out in those New South Wales country towns, and it seems to be bred into them a little bit better than the city boys. But I'm a country boy from heart, so I won't pick on the city boys too much.
No, but I've always valued the honesty of the country people. It's I suppose Harry Watson, I've always got along with really well with Harry, simply because he's so straight up and honest. And we've had some cracking good disagreements.
Yep.
But he respects that I've got an opinion, I respect he's got an opinion, and that's great. And there's no problem with disagreeing with someone. It doesn't mean I hate you. It just means I don't agree with what you're saying. So it's that country honesty can't be found in the city very often, and when it is, it's a very special person. So dead right, and I agree with you, Harry. Harry and I have had our little chats and whatnot, but one thing about Harry is he never holds us a grudge. He just gets on with it and allows it, and that's that country thing coming out that. You're allowed to have your own opinion. People in this world are allowed to have their own opinion. Yeah, absolutely. There's not only one way. If there was only one way to catch a fish, we'd have a very, very short interview tonight.
Yep, that's it. Jordan said Rex should be our next PM. I'm going to almost agree with that. And we've got another. We've been on. We've gone on for 80 minutes. It's flown. Get your last questions in, guys. I'm going to pull up stumps here very soon, but I've got a really good one here from David. So David's asked, if Rex and the other original guys were instrumental to the fishing industry, who do you believe is the current guys moving fishing forward in a similar vein?
In all honesty, it's so fragmented now by social media that there's not the icons, unfortunately, that we used to have. When I was growing up, there was Vic McChrystals, there was Warren Steptoes, and then moved on to Rexies and Bushies and Starlows and those sort of people who everyone still knows about today. These days, it's so fractured. There's so many TV fishing shows, there's so many podcasts, there's so many this, there's so much of that there's not a lot of people really being that single figurehead, which I'm not saying that's worse or better. It's just the way it is. So yeah, it's interesting. Like I'd like to think that Al McGlashan, who I used to work with, a complete angler,
There's a
does
name
a
I
lot
haven't, heard for a long time.
of
Yeah.
work, in Sydney, and did a lot of work on marine parks. It's a different generation, so and it's judged differently, so it's hard for me to judge.
Yep, no, totally agree. There are some. I suppose we grew up in an era where we had 3 TV stations, and at 11 o'clock at night we got test pattern.
Yep.
It didn't run for 24 hours a day. If you wanted fishing shows, you had Rex and you had ET maybe on the weekend, and they were on rival stations and rival everything else. But that's all we had. That was the content we had. There's so much content out there; it'd be hard to find somebody that you could say was better than anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if there's better. There's just different. If you're trying to compare shows, it's really hard. From a business point of view, we sponsor Bergie and we work with AFN TV and we do Hook, Line and Sinker, and they're all vastly different shows. They, from my business point of view, they offer us completely different things and completely different audiences. So yes, while they're TV shows and they're competing against each other, I suppose, in a way, they're not really attracting the same audience. They're attracting different audiences. So
Yep.
and that's the thing, like you said, you had Rex and that's it.
Yeah.
And then ET came along and, he was the ex-Cronulla superstar.
Yep.
Yeah. And, very watchable and, all the girls loved him because he was beautiful. So, which I don't think anyone would ever accuse Rex of being the beautiful guy on TV.
No, he had to rely on his sense of humour. I agree with that.
Yeah, so it's different. There are it depends what you mean by influence. Are there people looking after our backs as rec fishers? Yeah, there are. Most of those guys are out of the spotlight. There's a lot of people doing a lot of work on the afterboard. Like Mike Starkey from Frogley's agencies who do Gamakatsu and Atomic and that sort of stuff. He's now the president of AFTA. He's working really, really hard to keep everyone fishing during this COVID thing.
Yep.
With all of his board members. You just don't hear those people's names anywhere, but they're working hard, and they're working hard for us. They're working hard for you. But if you're talking about influences, without a shadow of question, the Skiers boys have taken that requirement for live scope in that Western fishery to the next level. So they're influencing that ridiculously, to the point where AYC is now sponsored by Garmin and, the top 10 in any given tournament of AYC is using Garmin. So, they're leading the charge, and I can't wait to see their episode because that'll be awesome.
I'm looking forward to Mitch has already told me he's not giving away every secret, but he will give away some. So
I'm on the boat and I can't get all his secrets.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, we've been on for nearly 90 minutes, so I won't hold you up. We've got one last one here. Banksy's obviously on tonight, so if the metre 25 and the Codnuts are your best memories, is the car ride to Windy to Glendamere your worst?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. So that was the Australian Freshwater Masters last year, like the year before last, because we didn't fish last year. So we were driving down, going along wonderfully well, and Banksy's boat's about 1.8 tonne. It's a fairly big boat, and decided to come off the hitch of the trailer of the car on going downhill at 100 k's an hour. So yeah, let's say I thought we were going to die. Banksy's gone to put the foot on the brake, and I'm screaming at him, let's just ride it out. Don't put your foot on the brake. We're going to flip over and all that sort of stuff. And 30 seconds extended out to what felt like about half an hour as we went down that hill, weaving from one side of the road to the other. So, yeah, we should have died. That was on my birthday. So,
oh, that's right. Your birthday's always on the Masters. That's it.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
So we got to Glenbourne eventually after Nana Banksy decided to drive at 40 k's an hour for the rest of the trip. And yeah, it was a very handy first beer, and I don't drink much at all. It was a very handy first beer. So, yeah, Banksy tried to kill me, but he saved me.
No, that's excellent. Listen, thank you very much for the short notice. Great, always great to get on and chat. You are a wealth of knowledge for anyone that you've got your Facebook profile and whatnot. But thanks for coming on. We will get you on again at a future date. Thanks everyone for being on and watching. It was great to talk about some of the old guys and get different views on everyone. We will try and get some of those people throughout time on the show. It is very hard. I am a small show. So we just keep plugging away at them. Don't forget, if you're in Melbourne, do the right thing. Lock yourself down. It is 6 weeks, and hopefully we can come out of this stronger. We're all part of it. We're all together. To everyone fishing the Somerset ABT this weekend, good luck. I wish I was there, but just can't get through 2 border closures. With a boat on, I could probably fit through in the car and smuggle my way in, but then I'd be like those chicks and get everyone into trouble. So, I think that's about it. Thanks everyone for being on and watching. Thanks Boothie again. It's been great having you on, and hopefully with having these teeth pulled out, I'm back on the air next week. We might have a guest on. We'll see how we go.